I love it. Hello, hello.
Hello. All right. So welcome everybody. This is Teen Thursday. I think it's October 20th. I feel like this month is flying by, but we're so happy. Do y'all notice that we have a guest in the room? And I think a lot of y'all know Amy, but we're going to properly introduce her. Bella, I'll let you say hi, and then you will take over introducing Amy.
All right. Well, again, hi. Thank you so much for being here. We are so very happy that you could make it. Let's just introduce you. Our wonderful guest, Amy
Gerhartz.
Gerhartz. Okay.
It's German. It's confusing. It's okay.
It's okay. Our wonderful guest, Amy Gerhartz, is the founder and CEO of A Higher Way of Living and the Rise Up Buttercup podcast,
which we'll hear more about.
Later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is an amazing person, and she has 20 plus years background in performance, along with certifications in leadership, NLP, hypnosis, and hypnotherapy. She's very knowledgeable about the mind and how that just works, which is very confusing. Yeah, we are very, very happy that you can make it, and yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. And look, I still get confused on how the mind works sometimes too. So it's a lot. There's way more that goes on up here than most of us know. So.
All right, Bella. So I'm going to take the first question, if that's okay, because I when I got your background, the PR write-up, honestly, I was intimidated. Now, I know Amy from other activities. Okay, this is the person you want to call when you want to have a guest show up at a corporate function as well to speak to a large group. She's also fantastic, obviously, in the teen spectrum. So you're here on the Teen Thursday, and we want you to come back on the grown-up version on a Tuesday. But really, I think that you have so much to offer teens and just being inspirational and empowering. But I just want to make sure, kids, you know who you're dealing with, okay? We don't bring scrubs. We don't tell you who you're dealing with here. So she's been, and you should have seen it, and if you don't know, your parents know, but she's been on the cover of Vegas Entrepreneurs Magazine, Holistic Life Magazine. She's been on major news networks. She's a leading expert, powerful professional, world-recognized global business pitch contestant, friend of people we know, people I wish I knew. Was on Shark Tank, okay? So we're talking about someone who is very, very well-rounded. And what I want, especially teens and parents, to get from this conversation is that, just listen to her journey. Mm-hmm. It's not a sprint, but listen to her journey. And I think that you will really be blessed from this conversation today. So your background is crazy impressive. And we know that it took you a while to get there. So we're going to play around. We have cheat sheet of questions, and we get what we can. So I wanted to find out more about, how did you get to where you are? Because you have this background as a musician as well. Hello, Nashville Circuit. So tell us about your journey. How did you get to where you are now? What was your journey like?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's a great question. Thank you. I feel like every time I get introed on a podcast or something, like, can you guys just come live with me? You make me feel so important and valued. No, but thank you for pointing that out, Shelley. Life is a journey. It's always about the journey. And I think when you're young, especially in the teen years or in your early 20s, and as you age, you want things so quickly, right?
Yeah.
In this age where our phones are attached to us all the time, we were like, oh, this person just exploded on TikTok, or this person just did this. Life's got to be that way for everybody, and it's not. And it wasn't for me. I started off as a young age. I was I've always had a passion and love for music, came from a very musical family on my dad's side. I think the first play I was ever in, I was 7 years old, and it wasn't even my play, by the way, it was my brother's play, and he was in the play, and then I got up on stage and just started singing, and the director's like, you're in, we're going to And then I just continued on that journey of theater and music, went to college, studied music at Florida State University, and then started writing my own music, putting out my own music. And what's interesting is that the funny thing about life, and I promise I'm going to answer the question, it's just going to take a little while to get there. The funny thing about all of these steps along the way is one was another step in the puzzle, right? One was another like step along the staircase. Everything that I did in my life led me to where I am now. But how did I go from music and then being in college for music, then going into, oh, I love that. That just popped up. That's cool. You guys
We're
have a
stealing the
professional
tips.
setup here. I like just do everything on Zoom. This is cool. I like this. So anyway, I super long story short, I quit my job. I was working a corporate job in New York in my 20s out of college and knew I wanted to pursue my passion for music. So I quit my job. I moved to Atlanta. I started playing music all over the city of Atlanta, doing a lot of the events that they still have, the festivals, the art festivals, things like that in Atlanta. And then I started doing more festivals regionally in the Southeast. And so then that kind of just led to me making connections and, lent my voice to a couple commercial projects that actually recorded in Atlanta for Lifetime and E! Network and things like that.
Wow.
But here's the funny thing about all this. So I start touring across country with my own music. I put out my own music. Publicity is huge for growing your exposure in anything. But I start putting out my own music and I start touring across the country. And the reason I tell you all these things is because even though I was doing a lot of impressive things from the outside looking in, I was horrifically insecure. Like I was a terribly insecure person. I would beat myself up a lot. I would body shame myself. I would tell myself I wasn't good enough or that I was fat or that I was ugly. And I had all these voices in my head that were constantly sort of telling me things about myself that weren't real, but I believed them to be real. So as I was touring across country, now granted, mind you, I'm booking cross country tours independently, but I have all this chatter going on in my mind. And so when I decided to leave Atlanta and move to Nashville, I had what I call my low bottom moment, or my dark moment, where I just said, you know what, hit rock bottom, realized like I was drinking a lot, I was partying a lot. For those of you who are in teenagers, don't drink until much later.
Oh yeah.
Not worth it. Trust me. And so I was doing all these things thinking it would make me feel better and thinking that it would fill a void that was happening internally. And I just remember looking in the mirror one day and being like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living my life, beating myself up and not loving who I am. So I started what I call my self-love journey. And this was in 2015. I was 33 years old. This is why I love talking with teens and with anyone at any age. If you can, wherever you are, whether you're 14 or you're 60, whether you're 10 or you're 80, start, because that day was the transition for the rest of my life. And what ended up happening is I started writing music that was empowering. I started feeling more empowered as a person. I started going to therapy, reading books, doing things to better myself. And I realized how powerful our minds really are. And so I would start touring across country and sharing my story from stage and talking to women and men as well about this journey. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and wiped out the entertainment industry for a couple of years. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I've been coaching for the last 3 or 4 years and I didn't even realize I was doing it. And so during COVID, and I had known for a while, my faith is important to me. I was following, God's plan for me. And whether you believe in God or not, that's not the point. It's what's your heart telling you? And my heart was saying, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And so I went back to school. I started studying the mind. Certifications in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, certifications in hypnosis, hypnotherapy, leadership. And that's how I ended up transitioning into the coaching space, which I now do. I still sing. I still perform. I'm hired for 3 events, next week in the DC area. But for the most part, I love speaking to people about the importance of self-care, self-love, understanding that just because you might have things going on up here doesn't mean that they're real. They feel real, but it doesn't mean that they're based off of real events. And so empowering audiences to believe in themselves, to love themselves, to care about themselves is something that I hope I am passionate about for the rest of my life. So does that answer your question?
My cup is so full right now. I feel like I just
half done. One question in. Boom.
This is so like there's so many things, and so we're trying, for those of y'all who are watching the replay, we try to capture some of the highlights and the notes so you can go through the chat and see it. But watch the video, y'all. Watch the video because you're not going to get the whole thing. But there's so many things that you touched on about the journey, following your heart, and being open to shifting, when you need to make the change, right? So COVID hit and things changed, but you weren't wallowing in it. You were shifting to doing, okay, what is the thing that I can do? Yeah. What is that thing that's in my heart? All right, Bella, I'll give you, I'll go back to you. Sorry to take over.
I have to open my phone. All right. Well, our second question for you tonight is, how did you get involved with the Global Business Pitch Contest, and can you share a bit more about your podcast?
How did I get involved with the Global Business Pitch Contest? So I don't know if you guys mentioned this on the bio. So earlier this year, I'm a firm advocate in education. I am always learning something. I believe in coaching. I believe in traditional education as well, too. Don't get me wrong. I think colleges and schools have a place, but I think there's a lot of other people out in the world that we can learn things from as well, too. If I want to learn how to weld, I'm going to go to a welder. If I want to learn how to fix a car, I'm going to go to a mechanic. I'm going to go to someone that has some experience to teach me. So when I knew I wanted to start my business, my coaching business, going back to a college to teach me how to build a coaching business didn't align, because I wanted to learn from somebody who had already done coaching and was able to teach me the structure and the framework, especially from an online space. So I hired a coach, and I was working with, obviously, excuse me, let me back up. I didn't hire this coach yet, but I go to a lot of events that are online. So I signed up for a course. I purchased a course, and with this course, there came a free ticket to a live event. And so I purchased a course to kind of teach me about Facebook marketing and advertising and things that I literally still to this day sort of goes over my head. And with that, I ended up submitting, there was a VIP contest in this free live event where it was going to be a 3-day marketing, learning all about Facebook ads, learning about marketing, learning about how to grow your business. And I had a free ticket, but they were like, if you want to upgrade to VIP, and it was something ridiculous, like $100. I mean, super affordable, maybe not for a 14-year-old, but for a 40-year-old woman, super affordable. And I was like, I don't know. And part of that was the woman who I then now have hired as my coach to just teach me through brainstorming and growing my business and my company. But she does a lot of the marketing for Kevin O'Leary, who is on Shark Tank. And so she was running a pitch.
All right.
So she said, hey, if you want to be in VIP, you can submit a 3-minute video, pitch your business and what you're doing, what you're building, and be considered to win this top prize. And I thought, oh my gosh, Kevin O'Leary, like, it's Shark Tank. I don't have a product. Like, what am I going to talk about? I didn't invent something that nobody else has ever done, because mindset work is everywhere, Hopefully it will be everywhere someday, but I'm not the only mindset coach in the world. So anyway, I submitted to this contest. I said, okay, well, let's go for it. And the funny thing is, when I submitted, I told myself I was going to win. And this is the first time I've ever done.
I love that.
It's not like a lottery ticket was like, I'm going to win the lottery. Like, I submitted, I was like, you know what? I'm going to win this contest. And I remember just saying it with a certainty, not an attitude of like, oh, I'm better than anyone else. Because keep in mind, we got there, I submitted my video, they called my name as a finalist, and then we all had to pitch our videos or pitch our businesses live in front of Kevin O'Leary and all of these other people. So think about the nerves that are starting to come. Like, oh gosh. But I kept telling myself, like, I deserve to be here. I'm going to win this. I deserve to be here. And I gave my pitch. I was the first one called. So I gave my pitch, and then everyone else after me gave their pitches, and man, there were some incredible businesses, like businesses that were making way more money than I was making, businesses that had been around longer than me, businesses that were connected, that had numbers, that everything that they could sell. And at the end of the contest, they called my name as the winner, and I ended up winning the contest. And it was just this surreal moment of when things start to become an alignment. And I still to this day believe that, first of all, every single business owner that was in that contest deserved to be there. Absolutely. But I deserved to be there too, and I believed it. And so there was something that happened internally for me. Because I believed that I deserved to be there, I showed up with passion. I showed up with purpose. Now, did I have the best outselling? Did I make more money than all the other businesses out there? No. Did I have 15 products to push? No, but I was passionate about what I did. And this is what I try to communicate with the people I work with now. The passion that you come at something with is going to shine through everything else, because people connect to passion, right? And so that's how I ended up winning this pitch contest, which is great. People still think that I won Shark Tank, which I didn't, but let them believe it. It's totally fine. And it also goes into the podcast. So Isabella, it's a great question, the combo of the pitch and the podcast, because the podcast is called Rise Up Buttercup. And what I choose to do is interview people that rose above whatever their circumstances were, or whoever told them they couldn't do it, and they pursued a life of passion and purpose. It is so important. I have so many different entrepreneurs and business owners and whatnot on this podcast. And it's all about just sharing the journey of what someone went through. You know, just like me sharing my story, all of our stories are so valuable and they're so important. And if we can learn to be passionate and open and vulnerable about who we are and what we do and what our life purpose is, we're going to land our message every single time, versus someone who's like on the paper reading, oh my gosh, this is who I am, you know, all of that. But it's just believing in yourself. And so for all of the kids watching and their parents, like, the passion that you bring to what you do every single day is so, so important.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm taking personal notes. Forget y'all. I'm getting as much help as I can on my own stuff. So Bella, I'm gonna take the next one. This is around teens, you know, who are facing depression and anxiety, and we want to hear some of the things about your journey. I always say this, that people will look at successful people like yourself and just assume the road has been easy, like it was handed to you, and you know, there was nothing behind it, right? You just kind of showed up one day, and all of a sudden, you know, you're out there. So can you share a little bit more about your journey and any tips that you could share with the teens who are watching as well?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So how much time do we have?
We got all the time we need.
I love what you said is that there is no easy. Let's start with the depression, and let's start with some other things around mental health. First of all, I want to make it very clear. I am a coach. I am not a therapist. I am certified as a hypnotherapist, but that's different than therapy. I am a big advocate for therapy and for communication, counseling, all of those things. Depression, first of all, I love that we're at a time in our country where the younger generations are coming in and they're being so much more open and accepting and vocal. You know, Isabella, you were talking before we came on, like using your voice, the vocal about things that are important and things that matter. In my experience, in my opinion, nothing matters more than mental health in our country. Nothing. Because if we can solve mental health, which there's so many layers to it, which we won't debate here on this podcast. But if we can take care and be kind and understanding around mental health, then we can start figuring out some solutions to mental health. And here's the thing. I grew up in a family where mental health is very, very prevalent, mental illness is very prevalent. I have family members that have battled depression, suicide, eating disorders, alcoholism, any of those things. And the mental awareness that I was given at a young age was, it could have gone one of two ways. And I want to be cognizant of the families that are watching this, or especially the teens that are watching this that may not have a good support system at home. I had a great support system. So that was number one, finding a good support system for you, whether that's a trusted friend. And here's what I want to say. When it comes to having a good support system, make sure you are finding people in your corner, professionals, friends, teachers, family members that have your best interest at heart. And the way you know if someone has your best interest at heart is by trusting your heart and trusting your gut. So first of all, there's no shame whatsoever when asking for support. I learned that at a young age, because of my family. My mother was always very vocal about her depression, about the things that she was struggling with, which made me as an adult be vocal and open about the things that I was struggling with. When we open the lines of communication and remove any shame or any stigma, it is so important to be able to get the healing. It is the only way to be able to get the healing. So if you're watching this and you do not come from a supportive family, I want you to know you're not alone. There are a lot of resources out there and people that are there for you. So that is really the depression aspect and the piece of that. If you're struggling, don't stay silent about it. Yeah. I realized that for all the years that I was struggling with my mental health and the way that I saw my body and the shaming and the things that I did, I never really told anybody because there was an embarrassment about it. But there's nothing to be embarrassed about, because had I opened up sooner, I would have been able to start healing sooner, which would have been just many more years of healing that I could have had, right? Would you mind telling me the second part of that question? Because we were talking about, it was like a multi-layered question. So for that aspect, for teens that are watching, you're not alone at all. Please find support. That's a huge thing. And the second part of the question.
Do you want me to? I'll take it, Bella. So my other question is, how did you, like, what did you do? How did you work to overcome?
That was what it was.
Anxiety. It was like, how did you? Yeah, how did you? What did you do to
I knew there was a second part. I was like, what was the other part of the question? I also have ADD, by the way. So welcome to my brain. The journey. You know, when you're starting out, you be open to discovery. Here's part of the thing. When I was in high school, now most of the teens watching this probably have no idea what MTV is, but
yeah, they don't know.
I wanted to be on MTV. I wanted to win Grammys, like when MTV actually played music, by the way. I wanted like amazing. I wanted all of the success with my career. And I realized there's nothing wrong with wanting success, but what happens when you get success and you're by yourself? What happens when you get success, but you still have depression or anxiety or stress or overwhelm? What happens when you reach the top and you don't have anybody to share it with? So success, I got to learn, and something I wish I had known when I was a teen is that success is relative. Joy is what I consider successful now in my life. Loving what I do every single day is what I consider successful. And the funny part about it is that when you approach life with joy, even during the dark times, even during this depression, and I know that's easier said than done if somebody does have depression watching this. And I'm thankful I've never really struggled with depression myself personally, but like I said, family members and people very close. Mine was more body image and body dysmorphia type stuff. So when I was able to find the joy of life, the success starts coming. It's this weird thing. You chase after success and you're miserable chasing after success, hoping you're going to find joy. But if you find joy first and you're able to find peace within yourself first, the success actually starts coming. Most of my success in my adult life came after 2015. Most of it when I had that pivot point moment. Most of it came after when I started healing the relationship I had with me and celebrating me and being able to stand up and say, yeah, you know what? I'm 40 years old now. Guess what? Y'all seen Zero? Have you seen Zero?
Yes.
It's amazing. The 40s and 50s are where it's at. I'm telling you. But I also want to encourage too, something I wish that I had done. And I don't know if you're going to ask this later, but I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
My intuition is saying to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I wish I'd stayed a kid longer.
Oh,
When
wow.
you're a kid, you want to grow up so fast. You want responsibility. You want to be out of your parents' house. You want to, pay for your own bills. Look, trust me, it is not what it's cracked up to be. But I wish mentally I had stayed a little kid longer. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean lacking responsibility. What I mean is discovery. I am now entering a whole new phase of my life in the last 7 years where I get to discover life. I get to be in discovery of what I'm capable of, what I'm talented with, what do I love to do. Right now, I've got a passionate career as a coach and a corporate speaker and trainer. In my 50s and 60s, I might have a horse farm somewhere. I don't know. I mean, probably not, because I'm not a huge animal person, but I don't know what life's going to be. And that's where the joy comes in. Allow yourself, if you're a teenager watching this, be a teenager. You got plenty of time to grow up. And trust me, most adults, every single adult I know wishes they had not grown up. So embrace the fun and the joy of life at a young age and allow yourself to explore who you are as a person, because you're not going to have it figured out in your teens, and you're not going to have it figured out in your 20s, and you're definitely not going to have it figured out in your 30s. In fact, it's a lifelong journey. And then just allow yourself to realize that slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. If I had been on MTV at 20 years old, I would not have appreciated it. Yeah. If I had been successful and won Grammys and made millions of dollars in my younger years, I would have taken it for granted. I know that about myself now because I was insecure. Remember? I told you 20-year-old Amy didn't like herself. 40-year-old Amy loves herself. So understanding that the love comes first, the success follows.
Wow. I love that. And I think that's something we talk about, Bella, a lot. Accepting who you are. I feel like I'm the most fabulous person I know. Right? Yeah. I do. And that's something that in our conversations, I'm really huge on. I don't have to seek out confidence because I'm confident, but it's because I believe the truth about myself, and the truth about me is that I'm a pretty good person. I'm smart. I'm working at it. I think I'm cute and I'm funny sometimes. But I feed that into my being, into my existence. But it took a while to get here. I'm over 50. So I'm thinking by this time, if I'm not okay with me, I can't expect other people to be okay with me. So I might as well be okay with me, right? Yeah. So that's a conversation for teens. It's the retraining your thoughts and not believing what other people, the negative stuff. Like, we're so quick to believe the negative stuff that other people say about us. We grab onto it. We take care of it. We absorb it. And then the minute someone gives you a compliment, you start questioning it. Like, do they really mean it? Are they really sure? I'll take every compliment.
Yep, absolutely. Receive the compliments.
Yes.
And
I will receive it.
And I also think too, it's important to point out, and Bella, you might be able to relate to this too, is when you're a teenager, your body's changing, your voice is changing. By the way, I never got acne as a child. I got it as an adult. I'm a grown woman getting breakouts. What is happening? But you're learning who you are still. So that's what I would love to lean into again, is let yourself discover who you are today. Doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow or the day after that. There doesn't have to be this much pressure. And actually, I don't know if there's the same amount of pressure nowadays, 20 years later, as there was when I was in high school, or 22 years later, where it's like, you got to figure out at 18 what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
There is.
Well, here's the thing. I hate, the parents are going to hate me for saying this, and I'm not a parent, so you can just still hate me. But as an adult who could be a parent right now because of my age, I could have a grown child by now. we're still figuring out who we are and what we want out of our lives. You're always going to be figuring things out. So release the pressure that you put on yourselves. Parents, release the pressure on the kids. Like, let them be kids. Let them discover. Make sure you don't, be logical about where you invest your college education. School. Like, with the way today's market is, but let them discover. If you don't want to go to college, don't go to college. Like, it's not going anywhere. It's literally not going anywhere.
I love that.
Yeah, be a kid. Allow yourself to just find your voice over time. Take the pressure off.
Yeah, and to what you're saying about like not taking for granted your teen years, me and one of my friends were talking about that today, because like a private high school came to like talk to like half our grade today. And it's a science and math high school, and it's only science and math. So there's no music program, there's no arts at all, and like there's no like extra time to do anything but what they give you. And we were talking about how like if you go to school like that, like if you love science and math,
I was gonna say if you love science and math, great.
But we were talking about how we wouldn't want to go to like just a school that only has two things, because you're really only focusing on studies and what you're learning, and you're not getting a chance to actually have a good high school experience and go through all the drama and all the dances and all the like fun things that you get to do as a teenager when you're in a high school. And I love music. Like it's the thing that I'm most passionate about, and a school that like I can't go to a school that doesn't have an art program.
No.
I'm a very artistic person, and if I can't fulfill that, if I can't fulfill what I'm passionate about, then I'm not going to want to do it.
No, and here's the thing too, how much should I rip the Band-Aid off for the teenagers here? Like there are always going to be things in life that become priorities, right? As you age, there are going to be life things. Shelley knows no matter what, she's going to provide for you as her daughter.
Yeah.
So there might be things occasionally she might have to do with her job or other things that she's not going to always love to do.
Yeah.
But finding the joy, finding the contentment of who you are. There were jobs that I did that I was like, oh gosh, what am I doing? And there were jobs I loved. My first job I loved. I actually worked in an auto shop changing oil on cars. It was one of the first jobs I did. I loved being mechanical, fixing things. It was the creativity aspect of it, even though it wasn't, I guess, creative. It was the fixing part of my brain. But similar, Isabella, I knew from a very young age that music was like performance was my passion. I could see it clear as day that I was going to have a life as a performer. I knew that. And then all of a sudden something happened, and now I'm like, look, I love performance, but I can see life as an educator now, and as a coach, and as somebody that inspires people to pursue whatever their calling is. And so allow some flexibility in there, but follow the things that bring you joy, because the reason most people become miserable is they stop following the joy.
Yeah.
They start compromising the joy for the money. And look, money is absolutely important. We all know that. We need money to pay our bills. I am a little bougie. I like nice hair. I'm going to want at least a decent amount of income.
I need luxury.
Not a lot. I'm a TJ Maxx shopper. I like it, but I need just like a little bit. But here's the thing. I can survive without it.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
So it's a want. It's not a need. I don't need money. So therefore, for me, if it came down to, and this is more than likely why I have been self-employed for so long, which is also not the easiest path either. It's fulfilling for me, but it's not for everybody, is that I could not see myself in a corporate job where I was unfulfilled. Now, here's the funny thing in hindsight. As a 40-year-old, I was only seeing corporate with a narrow focus.
Yeah.
Now that I work in corporate, I could have had 20 corporate jobs that would have been plenty fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
Right. But at that time, I just had such a narrow focus. So it's all the way you see life and the way you see your perspective. but find things that make you happy and follow the path that makes you happy. I guarantee you that at 90, I got to be careful how I say this because I can't guarantee anything, but I would be willing to put $100 on the line right now that you can make money at least 98% of the things that make you happy in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you can.
Absolutely.
Making money is easy. Finding a job and something you love is easy.
Yeah.
Like you may not be a millionaire, but you're going to make some money. So find what makes you, brings you that joy for sure. I agree.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I'm mindful of the time. We try to go 40 minutes and we've got 5 minutes on the clock.
Because I talk a lot.
We said that like, no, because you got to come back. So we've got other questions that I wanted to just ask.
Yeah.
Bella, I wanted to find out about what is, Bella, did you want to ask her about friends in the industry?
Do I still have?
Do you have some friends in high places?
Do I have some friends in high places? I have some friends in medium places. I got friends in low places. I know some people. I've been very fortunate to meet some great people along the way. Do I know all of the movers and shakers around? No, but you know what's funny, Isabella? You're only 1 or 2 people away from meeting.
I was just about to say the person you need to meet. Everybody.
Somebody. That's another thing. Really
That's true.
Kids watching this, teenagers.
Yes.
I know when you're developing who you are, it's awkward to talk to people sometimes. Yeah. Build relationships. Do not worry about job. Do not worry about money. Do not worry about fame. Do not worry about success. Build relationships. Get to know as many people as you want to know, because you are literally 1 or 2 relationships away from meeting the person that's going to get you the job, that's going to put you where you are. I did not, by the way, Shelley, you asked earlier, the journey I took to get to where I am, I did not get by myself. Right. And most people think, oh, they see somebody at the top, they worked all by themselves. Have I been self-employed? Yes. But I did not make it here I didn't get here by myself. I got here with everybody that fed me dinner, everybody that let me sleep in their house when I was on tour, everybody that, put me in contact with somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. It's all relationships,
That is one of those, like, I can't even express to you how important this part is, y'all. Be careful also how you treat people who come into your life.
Yes.
You never know. So here, just so you guys know the history about how Amy and I met, Amy presented at a corporate event. It was an event I had no intention of attending. Quite frankly, I wasn't supposed to be there. I was not. I go to all of these employee-driven events because the nature of my day job is I am the face of the culture. So I show up to just, remind people of who we are. That is what, and I had no intention of going. And when I joined that, there was a part of me that was like, you got to be on this call. So I was actually in like one of those huffy moods of like, come on, Lord. Why do I have to sit on this call? I didn't want to engage, but I knew I had to be there. Mm-hmm. And there was something that you said on that call that it changed for me, but I knew in my heart that I needed to connect with you. And I connected with Amy on LinkedIn, and here we are not many months later.
Yeah, not
many months. And I can honestly say that I have already, just from meeting you, learned and gained everything that I needed to take myself to the next level. I needed to walk in my own confidence. I needed to be able to really receive it, really receive it. And so I am so grateful for that. But that is just building relationships. You got to be able to do that. Don't wait until you need something from someone and then you're trying to figure out who do you know.
Oh yeah.
Because I know if I'm having a bad day, I can ping Amy, girl, I'm having some trouble. I need a prayer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
You called yourself out too, by the way, on LinkedIn.
I did.
Your coworkers are watching this like, wait, Shelley didn't want to be there that day.
I did. And they know me well enough. We're like, okay. Because normally I'm like very chatty in the chat. And then that day I was like, oh man, what has happened? But I knew in my heart, I was like, that is a God moment.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the voice when he's telling you to do something.
Yeah.
Do it anyway. Do it anyway when you don't want to do it. So Bella, I was going to ask, do you want to ask another question before I do one more question? Yes, we do. We have time.
We can make time.
She's like, wait.
It's your show.
Right. It's your show, Bella. You go. What do you want to ask?
Okay. That's fun. A good question. Leave me alone. Were you afraid to start your business after working as a musician, and how did you manage your doubt?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, to answer your question. Yes. Fear doesn't ever go away. Ever. What we get to do, and what I've learned how to do, is how do I make fear my friend? When fear comes up, how do I shift it internally and embrace the fear? If I'm not a little bit afraid of something, I'm probably not doing what I'm meant to do, right? So there's different types of fear. There's perceived fears, and then there's real fears, like I'm going to fall off the ledge here, I probably should back away, or, those types of things. And so to answer your question, yes, I was really afraid to start a coaching business. I had a full 5-6 month cross-country tour that was my income for my entire year that got canceled. And that's the way it works sometimes when you're an independent contractor. You bring in a good amount of money in a certain amount of time frame, and then that's what you live off of for a while, especially as a musician, as a touring entertainer. Most people are not going out to see a show in a park when it's like 17 degrees outside. So most of my money was made in the summer months. So when COVID happened, I was gearing up to go all the way into Canada, coming back across the northern US. Now, I had known for a while, the God pull, like the calling, I'd known for a while I wanted to do something else in addition to music. And so COVID was kind of that like, ooh, guess what? Here you go. I was really scared because I didn't know where I was going to live. I couldn't afford my apartment anymore. Luckily, I was coming to the end of my lease, so I just didn't renew my lease. I put everything in storage. I moved at home with my parents at 38 years old, and I got to figure out how life was. But this is where humbling experiences like that teach us gratitude. And it teaches us to say, okay, what's the next step? You don't have to have everything figured out. All I need to know is what's the next thing I got to do? What's the next thing after that? What's the next thing after that? So I was really scared to start my coaching business. And I'll be honest too, it did not come easy for me. Music, I told you, Bella, I've been doing music since I was 7 years old on some level. So you talk about 7 to 37, 38, that's 30 years of being like, oh, I got this. Hey, you want me to sing a show? I'll sing a show right now. No problem. I don't even have to warm up. That's how long I've been doing this. That's how familiar I was with music. And so I had forgotten when I started my coaching business, I put so much pressure on myself that first year of like, I got to do this and this and this and this and this, and I got to grow it really fast. And then I realized, calm down. You're in year 1. You're okay. Like it's your first time doing something completely different. It's okay to suck at it. It's okay not to be good. My first client, we laugh because he's a friend of mine. But my first client, I literally had my like instruction manual for like NLP in front of me. And I'm like reading my notes while I'm like asking questions. I was not good at it. I wasn't good at music when I first started, even though I could sing. Singing is much different than putting on a show. So it took years to figure that out. So yes, I was scared, and it didn't come easy to me at first. I'm in, finishing up. I'm about to enter year 3 of coaching now and speaking. And there's still days where I'm like, oh God, what did you call me to do? But I love doing it. And it's just even moments like this reminds me of why I'm here. So yeah, it was scary, but embrace the fear and go for it anyway. In leadership, we have a saying, which I won't repeat now because there's some swear words in it, but it basically says, go for it anyway, Just do it anyway. Do it scared. Because here's the other thing too. If you're waiting to not be afraid of something, you're going to be waiting a long time. There's always going to be something that's going to feel scary. Get over the fear. And sometimes the best way to get over the fear is just pushing through it and being like, okay, fear, I feel you. I see you. You're here with me. You're allowed to be right here. You're not driving the bus. You can sit over here next to me. I'm driving. But allow yourself to go through it anyway. And that's how you develop the confidence too. I was in a big networking meeting and, a couple days ago, and I'm literally sitting there with some heavy hitters, people that have been in business a long time, making a lot more money than me. And I'm like, I deserve to be here. I'm okay. And there was just like a twinge of like, oh, okay, let me a little bit taller, But there's always going to be a little bit of fear. There's always going to be that. But the fear doesn't have to be a bad thing. Did that answer the question? I think I did.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is so, again, like I'm glad this is recorded so that I need to watch the replay.
I feel like I'm dropping some nuggets today. I was like,
I stopped typing. I was like, forget it. I'm going to catch the replay for myself. I needed this as well. We are so grateful to have you. This was amazing. You have the most generous spirit of anyone that I know. And I'm so glad that we were able to connect. I'm all in your business for the rest of your life. That's what happens to folks that join this program. We're definitely here to support. Mental health is a huge, huge part of the LCM group. This company is built on that. If anyone's out there and you read the story that I put out on LinkedIn, this literally was built as an honor to Isabella, and it's all around mental health, and P.I.E is just that. So we're just proud, inspired, and empowered by you in all areas, everything that you're doing, praying you through it. You got this. We're behind you 100%. And we definitely ask people to go check out Amy's site. If you can't find her, we'll help you find her. You can find her everywhere.
I'm going to guarantee that I should be the only Amy Gerhartz out there doing what I do.
She is.
It's difficult. And that was the same thing in music. I was like, if you find another Amy Gerhartz out there that's a musician, I would be shocked. And the same thing in the coaching space. That's the one benefit of having a difficult last name.
That is awesome. All right, y'all. So we're going to wrap. Amy, hang out. We're going to have our little after party in the back room with our production staff. Kind of like they do on the Real Housewives at that magnitude. And Beyonce and Jay-Z will probably show up.
Totally. I mean, Beyonce and I hang out all the time. So we don't. By the way, listeners, I don't know Beyonce. I know Beyonce, but I don't know her. No.
I always claim that I know people who I intend to meet. So I know Beyonce, I know Jay-Z, I know Jeff Bezos, Oprah, they're all.
I know The Rock.
I know The Rock. We're connected on Instagram, so we must be friends.
Oh my gosh, we should do a whole episode about that.
Oh my gosh. It is pretty bad. So y'all, thank you so much. We're gonna end the broadcast. If I get this working right, there's a nice outro,
thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Which we hope. Thank you. Hang on, Amy, for 1 second. We're gonna tell these people deuces. Bye, y'all.
Peace.